So here we're on Jerimoth Hill. It's like 800 feet tall. It's in northern Rhode Island, the highest point in Rhode Island. And we're not really here for the high point. I don't care about that. There's no view. It's whatever. What I'm here for is a swamp called Balm of Gilead Swamp. And Balm of Gilead is also known as balsam fir or Abies balsamia. And so that is typically more of a high elevation northern latitude species of conifer or fir. And you know, the swamp is likely named for it. So my goal of being here is to gradually head towards that swamp to see if that actually grows here. And if it does, it'll be one of the first observations of wild populations of that in Rhode Island. While it's likely been recorded before, it has not been put on inaturalist yet, and I'd just like to see if it's true. So this area features a pine white oak forest, typical of Rhode Island, with vaccinium or blueberry understories. These are probably low bush blueberry. There's probably various other vaccinium species that I'll without a doubt see. Here we have Comptia peregrina, or sweet fern. It's in the oak family, and these are little catkins, and then it has little female flowers, so it's wind pollinated. It's a nice plant. It smells wonderful. It stays shrubby and small. Right here we have a crocanthamum, or a frostweed. Right here. These are yellow in the spring. Pretty nice. Short bloom time though. And then right here we have a gray birch. Here we have Quercus coccinea, or the scarlet oak right here. This leaf probably coming from this small tree, or any of the other oak trees in the area. It's likely also northern red oak as well as black oak. And there we have the larger gray birches. Right here we have a little young specimen of Fagus grandifolia, or American beech. This one is marcescent, meaning it keeps its leaves in the winter. This one also doesn't have the terrible Lichnites crenate, which is the beech leaf disease, which basically defoliates the entirety of the tree. So this one, if it was affected by that blight, it wouldn't have any leaves on it during the winter. Because the ones along the coast, almost all of them are affected by the beech leaf disease. And this one does have some effect, like it is slightly affected, but it has not been fully destroyed yet. You can see, you can tell there's beech leaf disease. There's that interesting striping on the leaves, and you can see how the leaves are all curled and crinkled compared to like a healthy leaf like this. So this one does have it, but because it's not really in a dense beech forest, it hasn't you know, succumbed to it yet. But it will likely succumb one day. These will likely spread throughout the vascular system of the plant and then further defoliate. I wouldn't be surprised if this tree's dead in 5 or 10 years. It's just what happens. Here we have Galacacia baccata, or the black huckleberry. These will be little red flowers in the spring that'll turn into black berries in the summer that are pretty tasty. Bright red foliage in the fall. It's a nice little ericaceous or blueberry family shrub. Right next to it we have the Vaccinium angustifolium, or the low bush blueberry. Here we have a beautiful specimen of Betula algensis, or the yellow birch. You can tell it's the yellow birch kind of with the peely bark, as well as the kind of yellowy coloration. It's a nice shade tree. And on it we have mosses in the genus Ulata, and liverwort in the Fruliana, or the scaleworts. No forest in southern New England is complete without Smilax rotundifolia, or the greenbrier. These things form extensive thickets in the coastal lowlands. Right here we have Calcladium imponens, or hypnum moss, or brocade moss. It's a common, the most common moss in the region, poking up through the snow here. Right here we have Monotropha uniflora, the Indian pipe, a little ericaceous parasitic plant. Ericaceous meaning blueberry family. Isn't that nice? Pretty common. Parasitic on mushrooms and fungi, so it's a microheterotroph. And it has little dust-like seeds that spread about, and they go and, you know, they find themselves a little mycorrhizal host, they germinate, and they form this little white flower Kind of looks like an eyeball. Here we have Thudium delicatum, another very common moss in this area. Also known as delicate fern moss. Isn't that nice? This small shrub here is Vaccinium corymbosum, or the high bush blueberry. Right here on its green stems, you can see the developing white urn-shaped flowers. And then these will turn into the delicious blueberry. Beautiful red foliage in the fall. It's a great plant. Birds going off are the golden-crowned kinglet and the black-capped chickadee. And here we have a big Sassafras albidium. Uncommon to see trees like this in the forest because they're usually a first succession tree. They're beautiful. Right here we have Hamelinus virginiana. Here's the buds on it. It's also known as the witch hazel. And those little pods up there, those are the seed capsules. Yellow flowers in the fall. Right here we have the remains of one. This is just the calyx. It has these little yellow tufts that might be stigmas that come out of it. And this is what remains at this time of year. Blooms in November with their yellow. It's the last shrub to bloom in New England. Isn't that nice? Nice yellow foliage, and this is about as tall as they get, maybe 15 to 20 feet, and they form these little thickets. Not really even thickets, just little groves. On this rotting stump here, we have species of dicranum, or fork mosses, or broom mosses. The moss we have right here is Calcladium halidonanium, or beautiful branch moss. Now that I know what it looks like, I'm finding it to be quite common. And to get to know plants, all it takes is repetition. Just get out there, take pictures of stuff, and eventually you start noticing and seeing patterns in your local flora. It's another nice yellow birch. And right here we have a larger white pine. Not huge, but good to see. Starting to get into a clethra understory. This is Clethra alnifolia. White flowers in the summer. Here's the remains of one. And it's typically more of a swamp or wetland plant. Right here we have Lyonia ligustrina, or he huckleberry. It's a sort of common / occasional shrub in the blueberry family. These are little white flowers in the summer, and they just form these woody capsules with tiny seeds. This time last year, we had a warm spell where we had like a day that was 60 and I think a week straight of over 50-degree weather, which isn't uncommon for this region, especially since it's getting warmer. Here we have the beautiful Betulenta with a black birch. There's also Acer rubrum, like this one here, also known as the red maple, with beautiful red flowers and red foliage in the fall, occasionally yellow or orange. Here we have a mushroom or fungus in the genus Sturium, which is a polypore. Beautiful, kind of light brown orange coloration on them. This tall shrub here is Rhododendron viscosum, another ericaceous plant. These are the flower buds, going to be beautiful white, just gorgeous flowers. Rhododendron viscosum, or the swamp azalea, or the swamp rhododendron. And you typically find them in swamps like this, open acidic swamps with a lot of clethra, a lot of blueberry, and your favorite, a lot of greenbrier And it just kind of forms this thicket, and it's the most common habitat in Rhode Island, I feel. It's everywhere, and going through them is slow. Not really treacherous. Somewhat diverse. Occasionally quite frustrating, especially when you have your hopes up to finding something good when you're out in these swamps, and then you hike all day in them and then find nothing, and you're just left all sweaty and dying and mosquito ridden, and you don't get really much in return when hiking these areas. But when you do find something cool, I guess it's worth it. It's like finding a needle in a haystack. It's that kind of swamp. It is that kind of swamp. It's clethra briar, my favorite. Some massive sassafras in the swamp. You can tell it's sassafras by the way it grows. It's a lot more spaced out than, say, a tupelo. Like, you could tell a tupelo. They have more horizontal branches that jut out like that. This one has kind of diagonal vertical branches. And how it grows, it just kind of goes whoop, whoop. It's a nice tree, but uncommon in shady areas like this. You don't really find old ones. You usually find them in new spaces. That is a beautiful sassafras. That's awesome. These typically live 60 to 80 years, so this is a old one. It's a very mature specimen. They typically start declining around this age, getting gaps and cavities like that, making them kind of brittle, so they tend to fall apart. Maples, though, I feel like they can live for a very long time. That's a red maple right there. Here's an old sassafras that died. We got young pines coming up. We got black birch. But not too many oaks. Like, we got one right there. But they're typically white oaks in here. You don't really find too many. I lie. You find a lot of oaks in the swamps, but in this particular swamp, there isn't too many oaks. Beautiful, healthy hemlock here. A young one. Probably only 30 or 40 years old. Surrounded by sassafras. Look at that. That's cool. These are all little sassafrasses coming up. And some clethra. But these thicker ones are all sassafras. That's awesome. And it's a healthy one. Typically, they're infested with the adelgid around here. And the adelgid just rapidly defoliates them. Pretty much makes them naked, except for the very tip top. And it's not like they're eating the leaves. They're just sucking the sap and just slowly killing the tree and depriving it of nutrients. I can't go that way. I mean, maybe I can. But I don't like how it looks. I'm going to stick over here. Here we have a young and suffering in the shade spruce. It's not a balsam, because balsams are flat and rounded on the side. Firs are round, I think. How does that go? I mean, firs are flat, yep. Spruces are pointy. Oh, there you go. Fir is flat, spruce is spiky. That's kind of like the little rhyme I use. So spiky makes it a spruce. It's either a Norway spruce. I doubt it's a red spruce, because these were commonly planted for forestry reasons. And you can find, if you find big ones about, they have a distinct look about them. Here we have a beautiful old single stem Calmia latifolia. Look how big this thing is. This is likely over 100 years. There's your, I guess, seed capsules. These are white flowers. Beautiful, giant, like, clumps. One of the most beautiful shrubs in the area, and it's super common in areas. Calmia latifolia, or the mountain laurel. Beautiful evergreen foliage. What a beautiful, I love these. Right here we have a beautiful amelanchier, or shad, or serviceberry. It's one of many species that live around here. Beautiful white, kind of rose-like flowers in bunches in May and April. and then beautiful berries that are edible, that are like purple and giant, and then beautiful orangey red yellow foliage. And it's a small tree. It's maybe like 30 feet tall. They're very beautiful, and they typically grow they grow in woodlands, they grow in swamps, and they make a beautiful landscape tree, even though they get kind of ratty in the late summer. That's just how things go. Here we have a beautiful sphagnum moss. I couldn't tell you what species, but this one is peculiar. I've never seen one that looks like this. And perhaps it's just frozen, but this is very distinct compared to what I usually see in southern New England. And I've likely seen this 1,000 times, but sphagnums, there has to be over a dozen species in the area that all seem to hybridize and look alike. Usually told from species by microscope and counting cell walls and shit. Extremely diverse and variable. And right next to it we have an allocomium, a ribbed bog moss, and we have also a polytrichum, probably commune right there. Hello, here we have Hedwigia ciliata, and right here we have Hedwigia ciliata. This one's just dry, and this one's more wet. They look so different, but I know they're the same because this one was covered with the snow. And you can see when they're covered with the snow, they are very beautiful. I mean, not very beautiful, they're plump, they're big, and then when they dry up, they're like, still nice though. It's just a different texture. That's what botany this time of year is all about. You look at wherever there isn't snow, which is usually rocks or trees. We got a bunch of different species here. We have the Hedwigia, you have this lichen, this lichen, this lichen, and this moss. You can tell what kind of foliage it is. You got pine, you got black birch, you have oak, and you have red maple. And we have like 7 different lichens and 3 different mosses. That's awesome. Right here we have another species of sphagnum. I love this plant. Moss. Now I'm following another creek, or the first creek. It's basically where all the wetlands lead to. Lots of different moss and shrubs, mostly just clethra. I saw a winterberry and a witch hazel. Right here we have a marchantophyte, a liverwort. I could not tell you what it is, but it will be on my inaturalist one day. Beautiful. Distinct. It's not a Botany. I don't know. Right here we have Minium hornum, the horn calcareous moss. Minium hornum. We'll keep it at that. It's a nice bryophyte. And they're pretty common. Now I'm in this bog. Average depth, maybe 3 or 4 feet. Not 3 or 4 feet, 3 or 4 inches. Might get deeper towards the center. Right here we have Symplocarpus foetitis, or the skunk cabbage. This one's not quite blooming. In southern New England, or coastal New England, they are blooming. And I bet you I will find blooming ones if I reach a warmer swamp. Just a kind of, I guess, warmer area. And we have ones that are a lot further along. They're actually open. There they are. Beautiful. Right here we have young iris. It's in the genus Iris. It could be any number of different species. It's likely versicolor, and it's occasional in these swamps. And these are just coming up. Look at this beautiful little dicranum tower. All their little spore guys. Their capsules are sent up. Sporangia, I guess. Sporophylls? I don't know. They're sporing. Look at them. Beautiful, glowing in that winter light. Or late winter light. Growing on an old birch. Yellow birch. You can tell by the bark. Here we have a beautiful Nyssa sylvatica, or the black tupelo. A little bit deep, but look at the size of this thing. It has these big old burls in it. It's probably 2, maybe 2.5 feet wide. And it's an old man. Look at that thing. And you can see it's starting to rot wherever there was an old branch. And it's slowly peeling away. It's covered in these big scars. I wonder what causes that. Look at that beauty. That is an old one. That thing's probably well over 100 years old. And it's actually hollow on the inside. Look at that. We have young pines growing next to it. Very old witch hazels. Mature specimens. These take about 50 years to get this big. You have a shade-grown yellow birch, a white pine, a mature understory of shrubs, multi-stem maple. So this was logged probably, actually no, it's the multi-stemmed oak. Interesting. Probably logged 70 years ago, maybe 80, and this is the regrowth. That's about as big as a 70, 80-year-old oak is. Nice big double-stemmed white pine. This one grew in open. They only get like this when a gall gets in them. This is almost like a wolf tree. It's an insect boring it that bores into the terminal bud in the middle, and then it basically sends out a bunch of offshoots, and it grows really fast because they're co-dominant stems, and so they compete against each other for light. So they just grow rapidly. So you know this one was open grown. Same thing with these oaks. It was probably logged 100 years ago, and they didn't touch the tupelo because they didn't want it, probably. Who knows? Perhaps it was younger. This polypore fungi has been able to stay here so long without decaying that a layer of moss grew on it. Look at that. I'm not sure what kind of moss though. Might be a tiny dicranum. I have no idea. Here we got the beautiful poison sumac. Hold on. Here we have Toxidendron vernix, or poison sumacs. You know, the one that gives you itchiness? Yeah. That's the tree right there. But they'll still give it to you in the winter, but it's cold enough outside that I feel I'm safe, even if I touched it. Like, if you break it open and then rub that on yourself, yeah, you're gonna get it. And then I got the soap at home, and I haven't really had too much of a problem with it, so there you have it. Toxidendron vernix. Relatively rare here in Rhode Island. This is the average experience of a Rhode Island swamp. Kind of hunched over. Oh, cool. Look at this. Beautiful rhododendron right here. Nice seeds on those, or seed capsules. But it's pretty much hunching around, going through a maze of blueberries with a junkload of water. Luckily, there's just enough ice to hold me. Yeah, that'll probably change. Look at that beautiful old maple. And then we have all the plethora blueberry understory. That's a nice 3-foot wide individual right there. Likely old growth. Just look how gnarly it is.